I'm back with my lives. So I'm just gonna pull my little desktop table over so I can make sure I'm going live and on the right page. And tonight I'm gonna do some ink things. So the club for the month of May, and then since I always have something to drink cold, I'm gonna do a little coasters, or a little koozie, not coaster. I already have coasters done. Let's see. Oh, of course. Let's see. All right, it is live, and I am on my business page. Yay! Lucy, look down, Lou. Okay, so because I'm working with ink, I'm going to do the koozie first. It's going to be quick and easy, and then we'll get into club. And tomorrow night we're actually going to heat set it because I like to have the ink set for like a good 24 hours and dry on its own before I actually heat set it. I've done it both ways. It's just my preference. You can dry it with a hairdryer and heat set it right away with an iron, or I have easy process. So where? Come on, video. There we go. All right. This way, if anybody hops on while I'm live, I'll be able to see the comments. Okay, so I actually have little kits of these, if anybody wants them, with all different kinds of designs. This one is, I'm sorry, did I roll my eyes out loud? And I'm doing this one because I've been rolling my eyes a lot lately. Some of the things that people do I just don't comprehend what they're thinking most of the time. Hopefully my video didn't freeze and it's just my internet up here, because my phone has got its own internet, so I got my unlimited data. So I just stick it on. I did not fuzz it at all because you don't when you're doing something on cloth. And I just wanted a dark color ink, so I actually picked Regal, which is just a really deep purple. So, see how quick and easy it is. Sometimes you get stuff on the lid just because these rolled all around, and I had actually taken them, some of them down south with me, so they rolled around in the car, obviously. That was fun when they rolled all around, and then I had to I'm still missing a couple colors, so I gotta double check underneath the front seats and see if they rolled under there. But you just scoop it up like you would any chalk paste. I actually prefer the ink. The ink is, I don't know, I just like it a lot better. Ink is permanent where chalk is not, so I'm just gonna go ahead and just putting it on and then just scraping off the excess. With the ink, you want to make sure that you're not putting out a ton of excess because of course it's seeping into the project because it's ink. Whereas the chalk paste, you can load it up as much as you want and take forever to take it off. Ink dries slower. That gives you a lot more time to work and play with it, especially if you're mixing colors around, which everyone knows I love to do, because I really don't usually stick to just one color, which you'll see when I get to the next one. So I've got on here, I scraped off all the excess, put it back in my jar. I'm going to throw my squeegee in the water. I have a water bucket next to me, which you guys can kind of see. It's just like, as you can tell, it's been used over and over again. It's just an old dish bucket. I actually use an old oil pan too. That's really better for the bigger projects. And I just peel it off slowly. As I'm peeling it off, you can look to see if something didn't, usually with ink there's not a problem, but sometimes with chalk paste maybe you didn't go evenly on something and you just want to pop it right back down before you pull it up completely and put a little bit more on. It's a good way to check it. So now I've got this, and I'll let it dry. I'll put it on my stove because everybody knows I always have Pepsi. Can't help it. But you know, I have done, you can do it on coasters and stuff too, which I've done just to change them up a little bit. And of course, because this is on one side, I always have the other side, that once this dries, I can always put something else in here, a different saying, the same saying, a picture, anything. So I'm going to put that aside to let it dry there. And, okay, so if you join the club, it's $20 a month. And this is what you get in the mail. Obviously, it'll have your name and address on it and everything, but it'll come like this. It'll just be a thicker envelope. This is the one for May, and yours comes with paste packets if you join the club. I'm a designer, so I just get the transfer because I've already got, obviously, lots of jars, and paste packets don't do me a ton of good because I pretty much have every color because I like to have my color options. So this is my fuzz cloth, which I don't know if I have my fuzz cloth out because I don't need it to ink. Alright, so hey Melissa. I'm back to my lives, and I'm actually going to do the heat setting tomorrow night, but I'm also going to be putting this on a t-shirt tomorrow night, So I think this would be awesome on a t-shirt. The more I kept looking at people's designs, I'm like, this would be awesome on a t-shirt as a design. Okay. So I usually label the back of mine. So this is the lemonade one. Let's put Club May, then I'll remember. It does tell you on the back of the bag as well, with a little barcode, that this is the lemonade stand one for the May Chalk Couture. So once you get several of these, I tend to do several at a time, and I'm just like, what bag? It doesn't really matter what bag you put it in. But if you're picky, like I used to always not put my CDs back in the right case, and then different people would go through my CDs and be like, and fix them for me. Then you now have to backtrack as to what CDs in what case until you eventually find it. And yeah, that's me. There's time to fix it later. So I've got this. This is just a hand towel that we're doing, so just a quick, easy one. Just, you know, instead of like a white hand towel in the kitchen or bathroom, it gives a little something extra to it. And you can get these for really cheap. They're actually called, what are they? Flour sack towels. So you can get them for a couple bucks. In Walmart or other stores, you can get them. I like the thin ones because they dry pretty quickly, but you can get them thicker ones too. So we have ink mats, which just pretty much just helps protect your surface. For me, I like to use them. You can always use a piece of cardboard underneath, but this is sticky, like a Cricut mat, so it will hold stuff in place, which just makes it a little bit easier. Since I'm not going to use the whole thing, I'm just going to cover this up a little bit. Right. So, and then I'll put this on, and then I'll stretch it out. Try to line the bottom up. And I'll go through and show you how to clean the transfers afterwards. Now I'm going to use green and yellow. You can do any color you want. My kitchen is pretty much orange and green. It's got like fall, autumn colors in it. So I'll probably do a little bit more green than yellow, but yellow fits in well with the fall theme. And then once I get it on here, because it's sticky, I just like pull it to get all the little wrinkles out of it. Makes it easier than if I were just to do it on top of like a piece of cardboard. It really helps hold it out. T-shirts aren't as thin as this, so they're not as wrinkly. And of course, I could have ironed it first, but I'm not that fancy. Okay, so I'm going to close up my ink. Like I said, ink stays wetter longer, so it's less of a concern. And I pulled out my greens and yellows. So I got my meadow, which is like a true green grass. My pesto, which is like a pastel color. It's kind of like an off green, which I don't know that I'm going to use that. I might mix it with the other green just to give it a little more texture feel. And then my yellow is the bumblebee. So we have less ink colors than we do chalk colors. So I mean, I've got tons of chalk paste, all different kinds of yellows, but we're still building up the ink portion of it. So I've got this open, and then what did I do with my transfer? Remember, I'm not going to fuzz it because I'm working with ink and cloth. I'm just going to peel it off carefully. I just use my finger to like pop it up like you would a sticker. And this is sticky side. And I'm not sure if you can see it or not, but this is actually mesh transfer. So there's mesh in there. It's not like a see-through stencil. So see, my finger does not actually go through it. So it's going to help the ink spread nice and evenly, or if you're doing chalk on something, spread the chalk nice and evenly. We'll do this on chalk this week as well, so you can see how they both look different. I'm not too worried about the positioning of it. It's just a hand towel from my kitchen. And just smooth it on and smooth out any wrinkles or air bubbles. If you see one on there that you can't get out, you can pull it up and put it back down. I just want to make sure it's nice and smooth. Thanks. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Stacy. Okay, so I think I'm going to do a lot of green because I want to stand out. Maybe I could do like a little pink lemonade. I don't know what I got for red colors. So we do have a pink, so it's a Couture Coral. I might mix that with the yellow to make it look a little more like pink lemonade than green, just because I can't stick to a solid color. Sorry about that. Alright, so I'm going to do the border in green remember with ink, you've got a lot more time to play with the chalk. You don't have to worry about so much about pulling it up and letting it dry and putting it back down when you're doing a big screen. And I always have Clorox wipes out. And when I'm working with ink, it's always to constantly remind myself to check my fingers. Because I've ended up before with some on my fingers, not realizing it, and then have fingerprints on things. There's ways you can disguise it with other transfers, but I'm just constantly reminding myself, check your fingers, check your fingers. And my nephew's pretty good about that too. Because when I'm not doing it, he's like, check your fingers, check your fingers. Yeah, I think I'm going to do a little bit with the pink lemonade idea. So I'm going to do the green first. Just cleaning off my lid. Waste not, want not. So I'm going to start with that, and I'll leave the lemonade stuff until afterwards. And a couple of little buds on the green, so I'll do a lot of green. The green is darker than everything else, so wherever the colors mix, it's going to overpower anything. So I'm going to try to be careful about that. And I probably could be using a little bit smaller squeegee. This is called the Mini. It's the one that I use most of the time. And I'll show you the different ones, because I'll use some of the different ones when I get to the lemonade parts. And if you are on something where you're going to get close to the edge, you could use like painter's tape, or we actually have tape that you can use and buy through the company, just to be more careful. What I've done some is I've taken the mini squeegee and cut it in half. That way I have a nice little small one so I can even it out and get into the smaller areas, just to give myself more detail. If I wanted the whole thing green, I'd just be going right across. But I can't do things simply. I do make them more complicated, I guess. But when I first started out, I just used one color. So don't feel bad or anything if you're only using one color. You only have to use one color, obviously. Right. I'm going to stick with my little mini squeegee for this one. Okay. And I'll keep going around the edge. There's even a bigger squeegee that's called the large. It's way bigger, I'll show you that. There's also an angled one too, which has tons of different sides to it, along with a utility tool, and one that, when you use it, honestly, it almost feels like a paintbrush that you're using. It's pretty cool. I know it's because I have smaller hands that I like to have them with smaller squeegees. As you see, I'm being very sparing with my ink. You don't have to use a lot with the ink. You don't with the chalk paste either, but I use a lot more with the chalk paste just to make it thin out. And as I'm just putting it down, this has been a while since I've done a live to explain to anybody who's new. I'm putting it on a little bit thick, and then see the little gobs there? I'm just taking the gobs and spreading them to another area. Kind of like when you're doing paint. Just pushing it around to make the most out of what I got. And then, because I've got a white background, I can easily see any areas that look like maybe I was a little too thin with the ink. And I'm just going over those again, just to make sure I got it nice and covered. So I can see here along the edge. I kind of wish I had like an overhead camera so you guys could see that a little bit better. Alright, so I think that's good for my edges. Now I'm going to do the little leafy greens, and I think I'm going to do some of the Refresh and Delicious in the pink to make it more look like a pink lemonade. This, I'm just spreading the green over because I'm going to do a little pesto on top of it to give it a little mixed feel. A little more, maybe, I guess, like texture in it. Same thing with this leaf. So, I'm going to keep my green squeegees to the side just in case I decide I want to add a little more green somewhere. And I'm going to grab a little bit of the pesto so I can finish off the leaves. A lot of them will have the seal through protection seal. It just helps keep them fresher longer. I guess maybe I have not used my pesto yet in my ink. Oh, I don't think I have used it before. Let's see. I'm just scraping off the lid. I know I'm getting it on my fingers, so I don't have to remember to check my fingers. So I've got a little bit on my fingers, which it's more liquidy, so it will spread. Hopefully I've got it all off. Yell at me after you see me not checking my fingers. Alright, so I'm just going to put a little bit of pesto over the areas through the leaves, just to fill them in. Now the meadow is a much darker green, so it's going to override. The pesto's not going to really cover up the meadow. It's just going to fill in the spaces. Just because the meadow is so much darker. Sometimes with different colors. I've done it with like a pesto and an orange color. And of course when they mix, they turn into a brown, so it comes out sometimes like a cool camouflage. I have one that I really like that I did. And it was completely unintentional, it just happened to turn out that way. Right. So I'm going to be doing lives every, well, the goal is to do them every night this month. So if you missed something, stay tuned. Or you can always go back and skip through the videos too. And I am going to move them over to my YouTube channel too, because they do tend to get a little bit more views over, well, they tend to get more views over there that push people over. And I've just got the one little leaf left. So, I don't know if you guys can see it. It's a little bit upside down here. So I've got that there, and now I'm just going to do the freshly squeezed lemonade part, where I'm going to mix the yellow and the pink. The pink is going to overpower the yellow. Nothing you can do about that, so I'll make sure that I use more yellow than pink, just because I know that that's what's going to happen. You can always do little test strips and stuff if you're not sure what color might overpower the other. What might overpower the other, because sometimes you just can't tell. So, my yellow, running out of room. Okay, so, usually when somebody joins club, depending on if you have anything, usually we'll send you a squeegee to start and an eraser just so that you, and a stir stick. Stir stick you can reach in and stir the ink and chalk paste and stuff around. Sometimes like if jars get tipped on their side, they're lopsided, and you can let them sit and work their ways out, but you can also cover it. Check my fingers, got pink on them. Okay, so I'm just going to do a little bit of the pink stuff here. Just do the freshly squeezed in the Couture Coral. And just plop some little down here. And I'm going to plop some on the lemon for the pink lemonade part. And then just see how that looks once I put the yellow on it. I may decide to go back and put a little bit more pink, or I may decide to do more yellow. Just going to depend on how it all ends up evening out. Check my fingers. So as you can see, I just put little plops of the coral in there because I'm going to mix it all around with this to kind of like make it look a little bit more blended. And I'll do the lemonade first. Once you start mixing colors, you kind of want to have it off to the side because you don't want to scoop back into the jar of mixed colors because then it's going to contaminate your entire jar with another color. I do try to tend to like put them off to the side because I've seen people do it before where they had like a deep red and they dropped it in their white jar. And it was like, oh no, you just contaminated the whole jar. And like try to get it out without it mixing too much. I mean, it's quite funny when you do it. And you're like, no. Okay. All right. So now that I've got most of this on here, I'm just going to put my jar down so I don't end up mistakenly putting stuff back in there because I'm going to start mixing the yellow and the pink together. So I'm just going to put it down here, a little bit yellow in different areas. And then this is where a stir stick also comes in because I don't want to stick my thing because it's got pink and yellow on it back in. I'm going to put different yellow in different spots so it can mix. And then I'm just going to start spreading it, fill in all the spots. It's making some cool coloring. Of course, some of it's coming a little orange, which is cool. And let's see where my different areas are. So now it's pretty much just filling in the gaps. Stretching my ink out a little bit. And as I run out and need some more, I'm just going to take my stir stick and drop a little bit more down on there. I usually go a little light when I'm using the stir stick because I know I can't put this stuff back in the jar once it's mixed with another color. I mean, if you mix a lot, you can kind of save it in an airtight jar and reuse it. But usually I don't mix a lot unless I'm trying to mix a certain specific color. When the yellow goes on top of the pink, it really does change the color of it, which I like. I'm going to need one little drop of yellow left. Fill in that spot. Right, and then I just look it all over, make sure I've got everything color. And I do. So, before I toss my little stuff in the water, I'm going to start to pull it up, and you guys will see how I pull it up. And as I do it, I'm checking to see if any areas didn't look like it's soaked in as deep as others, and if so, I'll pop it right back down and add a little bit more. The areas I'm really mostly concerned are the ones where I mix the colors. Usually start it at one corner and start at the other, and then try to pull it down evenly. Doing it little by little. Looking good. There. And I'm just going to put this in my bucket, and I put it sticky side up, and I'll take it out and clean it afterwards. I'm just soaking it under the water. I like to soak them under the water for a minute or two. I think it makes it easier for me to clean it. At this end, I need a towel to dry my hand off. Okay, so like I said, I will hang this up and let it dry for like 24 hours. And then I'll heat set it, so tomorrow night I'll show you how to heat set. Now I'm just going to throw all my squeegees in my bucket, put my ink back on, get a little bucket of ink jars. So I'm just cleaning up my space. Does anybody have any questions on this or club or anything else? Just double checking my yellow, make sure I hadn't put any pink in there by mistake. And I don't. So now that it's on the sticky, it's still on the ink pad, I'm going to slowly pull it up. I don't want to fold it over on itself because it's wet. So, to hold it up, you can kind of see it's at the bottom. So pretty much when I'm hanging this on my oven, it'll look like this. And as you can see, the ink went through, which the ink mat protected everything else. And I'm just going to hang this over the edge for it to dry. Tuck it here so it's not touching anything. And then as far as cleaning the ink mat, it's pretty much the same. I usually just take a Clorox wipe and wipe it down. I'm not going to touch the part that was still plastic. I'll let it dry once it does, and then I'll put the plastic back on over it just to protect it for the next time I use it. But as you can see, the ink is just going to wipe right up. And there is a way you can clean it once it gets too dirty. Usually there's a little bit of lint behind left from t-shirts or towels. Not a lot. If you use something like burlap, though, I did have one where it was a lot on it. You can clean it, it's just a pain. So just be conscious about what you're putting on it. Anything with a lot of strings, the strings might come off. So you can't even see the ink because it cleaned all up. It's on the handy wipe. And I'll just set it to the side to dry for tomorrow. Now this is still pretty wet, but I'm going to put my soda can in so you can see it. Okay, so there's my little I'm sorry. And it feels pretty dry. This is a thick because it's a can koozie, whereas that towel's thinner, so it's going to take a little longer to dry. But we've got this. So yeah, I do have koozie kits. I have lots of little kits. So kits that are this size, kits that are the bigger size, kits that are like a 5x7 side with surfaces. And so I think that's it for tonight. I'm going to put the link at the top of this post, so if you want to join Club, you can just click on that. And I've got more information about Club on there, and we'll keep doing Club this week. So I'll do a t-shirt tomorrow night, and I'll heat set the 2 items that I did tonight. Alright, have fun guys, enjoy the weather. It was like 70 today. I was super surprised when I went outside, but the windows are open. Okay. Night everyone.